All right, if you're still having errors, that's totally okay. Questions so far? Oh, before questions, just want to reiterate, as a rule, whenever you download something with a gem file, do bundle install. Like literally, anytime you download something with a gem file, you will bundle install. Okay, now then, questions about what you've seen so far. Gara.
Okay, so if you get that error, because I still get it even though it's in there, so that means that more than likely it's a syntax error.
Yeah, I'd say it's almost certainly a syntax error. If remember that it says in the lesson plan that you can go to this series of commits. So I would just do that, and each of these steps in here corresponds to a commit over here. So for instance, this one is added server, and here's added server. And the next one is added main layout and index view. Here that is right there. So if you get hung up, I would just go and look at these and make sure the syntax matches. Other questions?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So it finally refreshed, but it says local jump error.
I have no idea what that means. We'll come back to it at the next break, okay? All right. All right. So please tilt down, just because I don't want to bug fix as I'm going through here, and you'll have plenty of time to get caught up as we go. All right. So I have a main index. I'm going to create a show view as well. So I'm going to do get slash. Let me start off with this. Okay, now obviously I can't just do this because then I'll have two roots or two controller actions for the same view. Can't do that. What I would like to do, this is going to be a fish database. I would like it to be you type in the name of a fish up here, and then it takes you to that fish. We haven't done this yet. We've only done IDs so far, where you would go to like artist/32 or or whatever. It would always be a number. But wouldn't it be nice if we could say, like, you go to artist/Billy Joel, and it takes you to the Billy Joel page? So that's what we're going to do with this. Instead of asking the user to pass in an ID for the fish, they're going to go to, like, /goldfish, and it'll take you to the goldfish page. This totally isn't something unique to Sinatra. This is something you could do in Rails as well, but it just gets kind of confusing, which is why we didn't cover it. Okay, so I'm going to do this. And there's this colon fish name up here. So this is going to work when they go to something like /beluga. I don't care if that's a fish. We'll assume that it is. How would I access beluga inside this controller action? Well, let's say this was an ID. How would I access that ID? Params ID. It's going to be the exact same thing. I'm going to do params fish name. I'm going to save that to an instance variable. Fish equals params fish name, and then I'm going to create a show view for this guy, and it's going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to say h2 or h1 whatever at fish. Put some other text in here. Showing fish. Okay, and I need to render that, so I'm going to do erb, the name of the file, show in this case, layout main. So hopefully this is still working, and it is. Let's see what happens if I go to beluga, showing beluga. If I go to showing goldfish, I get showing goldfish. I'm not actually getting anything from the database, I'm just spitting out the name of the thing in the URL down here, but that's kind of cool. I could even do like, I like bananas. Close enough. But this is cool. So if I don't put anything in here, I just leave it at slash, it automatically detects, hey, it's this root. It's not this one. If I put anything at all after the slash, then it's going to think I'm giving it a fish name, and it's automatically going to take me to the appropriate root. If I leave it off, then it figures out, oh, hey, I'm matching this root right here. So Sinatra and Rails are all very intelligent like that. But if you start getting confused, it's like, man, I wanted to go to the show root. Well, it's because you have to have something after this in order for it to take you to that show root. Otherwise, it just thinks you want to go to the first one. Hold up, Christine?
In the show view, does it matter the order declaring the variable in the ERB?
You know, I actually don't know. I never tried that before. But what would your assumption be? Oh, you know what? So there's still implicit return out here, and the last thing getting calculated in here is Coran's fish name. So all I'm getting is, okay, I'll go back to beluga. Sinatra is going to show you whatever the last thing calculated inside this root was. So the first thing calculated was this ERB thing up here, but the last thing calculated was just what is the name of the fish. And so the name of the fish is all it's showing out here. So like, yeah, I tried to sort of render this ERB thing, but Sinatra's just like, oh, well, didn't want to do anything with that. He just wants the fish name for some reason. So the last thing in here is very important. There we go, showing beluga. Like showing warthog or something? Yeah, it doesn't know that it has to be a fish name. Sinatra doesn't know what a fish is. It's still gonna work as long as I pass in anything after the slash. So I can make this wombat, good word, and it's still gonna work perfectly fine. It's gonna work as long as there is something after the slash up here. There just has to be something after the slash. This is just a variable name, this colon thing. It's just a variable name. It doesn't matter what it's called. Ryan? Hold up, you gotta raise your hand, Ryan.
So if you have another directory or like another thing that said like get /wombat without the would that function as a specific page for the wombat, or would it go to the fish name?
Excellent question.
Page thinking wombat is the fish name?
So check out what happens here. I'm just gonna do, this is a wombat. All right, so warthog is still working fine. If I go to wombat, let's see if it shows the show page or this thing down here. I get the show page, but I bet if I put this up here, I'm gonna get this is a wombat. Yep. All right, so the order in which you put these also matters. Whenever a request comes in, Sinatra is just going to go through each of these get do things. It's going to go from the top down. And it's going to see, okay, so this time went to /wombat. Does that match slash? Nope. Okay, does it match /wombat? Yep. So it's going to stay right here. If I flip the order back to what it was, then it's like, all right, does /wombat match this? Nope. Okay. Does it match this? Yeah, it's a slash with something after it. So I'm going to render this root. So, yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that because this always comes up when we're doing Sinatra stuff. The order in which you write things on here does matter. Nah, well, yeah, actually, it is synchronous. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, sorry, I totally glossed over this. So this uses the exact same syntax as Rails. Yeah, that other thing. Yeah, so it's still clown hats equals, and then clown hats not equals. They both still do the same thing. And you can still put Ruby in here. I can still do like @fishes.eachDo. That's fine because that's Ruby. That's not Rails. That's not a link to or a form for. Those things are exclusive to Rails. But .each, if, else, those are all things that are native to Ruby, so I can use those here as well. Max?
Does your yield have the equal signs too?
Does my yield?
Yield.
Oh, yield. Yes. It's like I haven't put a eel in the fish database yet. Yeah, so if I don't have this, I'll just go back here. Yep, it calculates yield, but it doesn't actually make it show up. I think this is in like, this was one of the like.
Crying clown.
Yeah.
Oh.
One of the hot ones.
Oh man, I never thought about that. Orlics are like Cthulhu with a clown hat, kind of too. Anyway, all right. Other questions? Let me get rid of this wombat root. What's up, man?
Just explain again. So, what the ERB? What are the terms? The formula for its ERB, the three arguments there: index, layout, main.
Yeah. So if you want, you can imagine this as this is actually calling a method called ERB, and it takes two arguments. The first one, there we go. The first one is the ERB that you want to show, and the second one is any options you want to put into it. In this case, the option we're using is we're telling it, hey, I want to insert this show into this main layout. It's always going to follow this order. If you look back in the lesson plan, it is right here. So ERB, the name of your view, then layout colon, and then colon the name of your layout.
So then you need, in this case, you would need a show.erb and a main.erb.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, so if I try to do like, I mean, I can do index.erb as well, that's fine, but it has to be a file that exists. If I try to do like Andrew or something, and I think it's just going to throw me an error saying it can't find Andrew. Yep. Oh yeah, so this is a Sinatra error page. Like the glass of scotch because it's Sinatra. There you go. Other questions? All right, let's see. What's the next step up here? Okay, I'm going to add styling to this, and then I'm going to ask you guys to go back and do your thing. So the example that, or in the repo that you downloaded, it uses Bootstrap. So if you want, you can just like check out to that, and it makes it look really nice. But I'm just going to do a janky, stupid little style here. So Sinatra looks for static assets in a folder called public. So static assets are everything that were in the assets folder in Rails. Anyone remember what the 3 things in the assets folder were in Rails?
It's images and JavaScript and CSS.
Yes, exactly. Images, style sheets, and JavaScript. If you have like custom fonts or like sound or whatever, you can put them in there as well. But those things, those are all, Sinatra's going to look for them in a folder called public. So if I want to have a style sheet, I'm going to put it in this public folder. And of course I can call it whatever I want, but I'll just call it styles.css. And I'll give this thing a background color of aqua, since it's fish after all. Okay, and now to include that, I can include it the exact same way I would any other style sheet. I do not write public. I just write styles.css, and Sinatra figures it out. Fingers crossed, this will now be blue. Yep, there it is. So that's adding a style sheet. It has to be in a folder called public, unless you specifically configure Sinatra to be otherwise. But that's pretty much it. It has to be in a folder called public, but you're not going to write public over here. There we go. Ah, damn it. There we go. Matt?
So does it, I use public and browse for like my static page,
Mm-hmm.
all sections, so you know, like it's still, does it perform the same, or is it like you can put more static pages inside the public folder?
Yeah, if you have static HTML pages, you could put them in the public folder as well.
So that's not really
I mean, really, you can put pretty much anything you want in there. The purpose of the public folder is that it tells Sinatra these things are not ERBs, so you can't put an ERB in the public folder. But it also tells Sinatra, make all of these accessible just by going to /that file. So if you have wombat.html in there, Sinatra's going to make it accessible by going to localhost /wombat.html. I can just go to styles.css and I'm automatically there. Anything in the public folder is going to be like that. So here, I'll make a wombat.html, wombat, okay, wombat, whatever. Wombat.html, there it is. So anything in the public folder you access just by going to / and then the name of its file. And again, you cannot do ERBs in the public folder. That's sort of the point. Public folder is for static stuff. Static meaning there's not additional parsing and everything that needs to go on with it. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to get caught up, and then we're going to keep on trucking. If you are having an error, cough Kyra, then I'll come over